Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me okay? Awesome. I forgot to mention this, but we will be recording this event. So you probably saw that pop up. So welcome. Happy New Year to all of you. I haven't seen many of you since the start of the new year. So happy 2022. Welcome to SU's annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration. My name is Michelle Kim. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as the director in the Office of Multicultural Affairs. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to this virtual event and offer some words to set the stage for this evening's program. We want to begin by respectfully acknowledging that though we meet virtually from various places we call home, our campus is situated on the homelands of the Coast Salish peoples who continue to steward these lands and waters as they have since time immemorial. We recognize tribal nations and organizations who actively create, shape, and contribute to our thriving community at Seattle University and beyond. We as an academic community should be and are committed to doing our part to engage with and amplify the voices of Native peoples and tribes. We acknowledge our collective responsibility to advance proper education of Native peoples and tribes and call for further learning and action to support the Native people of this land. So for those of you who are joining from different parts of the country, I encourage you to take a moment to learn about the Native lands you occupy at this time. So again, welcome. This year's MLK Junior Celebration Farm Food Freedom has been planned by a small but mighty team. So I want to take a moment at the beginning to thank the planning committee members. So Dream Gonzalez and Marisa Robledo from the Center for Student Involvement, wave if you are on the screen, and Marquinta Obomanu from the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Thank you. And I also want to thank campus ministry for your constant support and partnership over the years. A couple of reminders for all of us. I know we're quite familiar with these Zoom events, but still it doesn't hurt to remind you. We ask that you keep your mics muted until it's time for breakout group discussions, which will happen at the end of the program. Live transcription is available for those who need it. If you have questions, please reach out to one of the committee members via chat. We encourage active participation during this event, and so please use reaction buttons during the keynotes to share nonverbal feedback, or use the chat to woot woot or ask questions or, I don't know, thumbs up. We trust that you will engage with curiosity and respect this evening. So to help us ground us in our topic of farm food freedom, I'd like to introduce Dream, graduate coordinator for Seek and Red Zone.
Hello, everyone. At the start of this academic year, we asked new students to consider what creating beloved community meant to them. Beloved community is a term that Dr. King coined to describe a community that is free of poverty, hunger, and hate. So for this year's MLK celebration, we wanted to continue exploring this complex and rich relationship between food and freedom. To help bring us together, we want to begin by sharing a poem by Naima Pennyman called Black Gold. This poem speaks to some U.S. history of food systems, and land justice through the voice of the soil. Black Gold was written for Farming While Black, Soulfire Farm's Practical Guide to Liberation on Land by Leah Pennyman. We invite you to close your eyes, mute your screens if that makes you comfortable, and ground yourselves as you listen.
I am evidence of love under fingernails, kneecaps stained from kneeling to pray, sacred remains of yesterday, fertile with future. I am musk after rain, soft, firm, unconditional embrace, bosom of returning. I am the earth and floor, slapped with soles of feet, origin story and sorcery. I am vast in cosmic compost, sand, silt, stone, composition of decomposed bones and primordial ferns, reborn. I am sun turned to rot, particles of stardust heaped in terracotta pots, this thing the living clings to, nascent seedling, ancient tree, this melanin-rich thickness, dripping mineral and mystery. I am galactic blackness, hummus of fecundity. I am mud clung to cassava root in the lower holds of slave ships. The soggy clay I raised up sugarcane, fed cotton profits of enslavement. I am arid trails, damp with tears of dislocation, earth snatched from Japanese farmers' grasp thrust into concentration. I am gang raped by colonization, who changed his name to capitalism, but retains the same enslavement, the erasure and breakage of all my relations for global market chocolate, whose growers face starvation. I am the sweet smell of freedom. I am promised past plantation, the ground under Harriet's railroad, the cracks in pavement post-migration. I spawned the roots that pushed through shoots that subverted subjugation. I am loam lush with nitrogen in Dr. Carver's legume fields. I am the calcium in the Black Panthers' free breakfast meals. I am cooperative acres, Fannie Lou Hamer made real. The once toxic lots, Hattie Carthen's garden plots healed. I am ashes of burned Monsanto seed stamped under the feet of Haitian revolutionaries. I am red hot from tomatoes from Taco Bell boycotts, fertilized by the fruits Immokalee farmers left to rot. I am proof of life after death. I am dawning from decay, mass graves in my belly, my open palms spawn gardens. Transmuter of toxins, cauldron of embryos, cradle of coffins, atmospheric alchemist sequestering carbon. I am bleached, stripped, strained by purveyors of pipelines and mountaintop explosions, erosion of homelands washed to oceans, borderlands encroaching. I am choking. I am swept up and stepped upon, guzzled by the gluttonous. I am paradise paved over, poison drenched, drained of sustenance. I buttress monocultures of monopolies to feed cultures of injustice. I am cultivated by machete. I am defended by cutlass, silent utterance. I am thunderous. All these layers of concrete, I am under this. I am umber, ochre, saffron, crimson, cocoa brown, and ebony. I am gold, gold, gold. You are soiled, filthy, black dirt rich. You are soul, soul, soul. Take me in your palms. Breathe in my memory. Remember me. Fall soft where you belong, my seed. I need you. The future depends on me.
Thank you all for listening to that beautiful poem, again by Naima Pennyman for Soulfire Farms. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you our two guests and speakers this evening. Our keynote speaker this evening is Naima Clark. Naima Clark is a Seattle native and the founder and director of Nurturing Roots Farm, located on Beacon Hill. She currently hosts workshops ranging from germination to systemic food oppression, participating on panels and lectures, sharing her journey as a Black female entrepreneur. She is also an organizing key holder of the Black Power Epicenter Collective. As a Black small business owner and founder of Avenue South, she produces handmade, natural culinary and body products. Naima is committed to enriching underserved communities. Her strength and overall goal is founded in youth empowerment and community economic sustainability. Immediately following the keynote, our second guest, Ray Williams, will be providing closing reflections and move us into breakout groups for discussion. Ray Williams was born in Seattle and lives here with his family. He earned a BA in biology from Harvard and an MA in education from the University of Washington. He spent 30 years as an educator in the classroom and administration around the US and internationally. As an instructor at the Art Institute of Seattle, he was able to enrich his nutrition and biology classes with experiences in a local community garden. It was the connection between food, health, and life that led him to support urban food growing as a way to support his community. Ray is mixed race with European and African ancestry. His community building efforts have focused on the African American community. There are dramatic differences in health outcomes for different ethnic groups in the United States. Ray feels he can best serve his community by highlighting the benefits of growing some of your own food. Ray co-founded the Black Farmers Collective as an organization that would develop a farm on the Yesler Terrace neighborhood called Yes Farm. BFC also grows on Small Axe Farm in Redmond. Ray serves as managing director and works in collaboration with farm managers and a board of directors. He works with other farmers and community partners to build healthy communities in Seattle and King County, Washington, through growing food and sharing food system education. Please give a warm welcome for our first speaker, Naima Clark.
Thanks so much, Dream. Thank you all for being here. Good evening. Unfortunately, we can't all be there in person together, although we've been dealing with this for a few years now. I guess we're getting accustomed. I wish I could be there in person. But nonetheless, thank you so much for sharing this time with me and this moment in history. I feel like each moment we're able to share with one another are paramount, because sometimes you get a moment that you cherish forever and you never forget. So I'm going to challenge this moment to be one of those. So a little bit about me before we pull up our slides. As Dream said, I am executive director, or like I like to call myself, a farm queen over at Nurturing Roots. I feel like systemically executive director is something I never thought I want to grow up to be that, but being a farm queen is so much more fun and glamorous. So for me, I'm farm queen over at Nurturing Roots. I was born and raised in South Seattle. So being able to have a farm that is within 10 blocks of my old childhood home is fantastic for me. It's also bittersweet, being able to see the impacts of gentrification in my community, seeing how many folks have moved out, seeing how many, memories have vanished, has been really unfortunate. So I'd love to share with y'all. Marquita, you can go ahead and start the show. But looking forward to some really thought-provoking discussions with you all. So of course we are paying homage to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And being able to lift up a lot of his legacy and his thoughts. I think there also, in that same vein, are so many of our ancestors that can contribute to the same movement or legacy making. So definitely lifting up the Black Panthers in this work, any revolutionaries of our history that have, been that moment that we've all needed, or have standed on shoulders and have really just gone out of the way to make a better way for further communities. So, and future generations. So I entitled this When Dreams Come Alive, Growing Our Liberated Community. Go ahead, next slide. So when I thought about this topic, of course, I wanted to reflect on a lot of different theories or a lot of different quotes that I was able to find with Dr. Martin Luther King. And so I'll pull a lot of those out today, but also a lot of this is my interpretation. So I always like to lift up interpreting things is always left to you, the eye of the beholder. So whatever it feels like for you, for sure, I welcome that. And I hope that you welcome that too. But this first quote, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase, I think is something that I definitely had to do when jumping out into, my career choice, when designing our career focus. I think being a farmer in a world of capitalism when it pertains to farming is something that was extremely revolutionary. At Nurturing Roots, we don't sell any food. So already having a farm and saying, we don't sell anything, and folks saying, well, hey, here's some money for a CSA. And it's like, just come and grab some kale, I think that theory alone has to be readapted in our minds. Why are we here? Where is our humanity? And being able to just take that first step is one of those moments for me that I think was very empowering. Next slide. So a little bit more about my theory, I guess. I think it might have skipped one of them, but it's all right. We'll start here. So Perfect. So a lot of my theory, like I said, I like to find the humanity, and a lot of my humanity is grounded in the theory that we are all living organisms. We are all plants, if you will. So in this diagram, I just like to talk about a lot of that, I guess the familiarity of the ideals that plants have and that we have, and then how we mimic those in our lives. So looking here, we think about water. Of course, we know plants need water. And it quenches a thirst. And then I think about in human beings, we have a thirst for knowledge. You know, we want to learn, we want to know how. Young people from the earliest age, I'll do it myself, I can do it, you know, or I helped you. This triumphant feeling in us to be able to succeed, it's further than being able to acquire a gold medal. I think there's something ingrained in us that is about, you know, furthering ourselves or becoming a more self-sustaining individual. And I see that in plants, you know, they want to grow to be the strongest, tallest. They want to make sure their offspring, you know, has the best amount of resources they can provide. So that moves into nutrients, same thing. So plants definitely search in our soil, search in our air for certain nutrients that they need to survive. Same thing with us. I think about urban communities, lower income environments. What is the nutrients that is readily available? We look at, you know, some folks call them food deserts, swamps, you know, food apartheid. There's a lot of different words or phrases, but really it's how readily available is the most sustaining substance that you could consume. Are you able to go into PCC and get a full cart and walk out with organic produce? You know, some people can, some people can't. Do you have a PCC in your area? Is there a convenience store that has all processed foods? And then we think about that paired with the knowledge. How do we know what we're putting into our body is good or bad? You know, whether or not you're able to receive that education may factor into your healthcare. So thinking about the nutrients that we put in our body is very important. And then last but certainly not least, the light and warmth. I felt warmth when I said warmth, but if anything, when you think about a plant, I don't know, I can't really see hands, but how many of us have a plant at home and you've seen it actually turn to the light of the sun? And you could spin that plant around and the plant's still going to turn around. And sometimes I ask my students, do you think plants have eyes? You know, do you think they have feelings? And it's like, not really, but then we identify these characteristics. Well, what is it doing? It's aspiring for something that is warmth or something that helps it grow, you know, a positive light source. So I think about that in us as individuals, as human beings. Where is our positive encouragement and how often do we receive light? You know, are we in Seattle and we're only getting a short period to get some sunshine and all deficient? I won't get into that. But if anything, it's like we need that sun. But more importantly, we need positive environments to thrive in. We need positive impacts. We need positive role models. But we need to be able to receive that nourishment in a positive way. Next slide. And so for growing up, for me, it was receiving that sunshine. So all these individuals definitely have contributed. There's so many more, but being able to capture them in images really roughly goes from my theater coach to Black Panthers. So being able to do a whole assembly with Aaron Dixon, the founder of the Black Panther Seattle chapter, Chef Tarek, Ron Finley, being able to, you know, collaborate with other revolutionary food systems workers. Ron Finley, they call him the gangster gardener. He's there with the gold emblem on his shirt. He is from South Central LA and started planting on his parking strips. But being able to do a revolutionary statement that says, hey, this isn't my land, but I know what's better for it. I can provide something that could actually help it. You know, I can impact it in a better way than that toilet and discarded tire and trash. And unfortunately, Ron Finley was combated by his neighborhood or the community members. A lot of the neighbors said, hey, you need a permit for that. What are you doing? And he actually had to fight battles in court, pay fines. Fortunately, now Ron Finley does TED Talks, but being able to step out, often revolutionaries in history, Dr. King, so many others, are seen as that targeted problem. Hey, you're doing something that's not right. This is not a societal norm. What are you doing? You know, you're impacting us in a negative way because you didn't check off this list, but who authored this list? And did it have anything to do with our humanity? So I think about that when I think about how we are adapting. How do plants work? You know, plants, they're not hopping out of a plant or a pot and running over to some other place, kicking the sunflower out and saying, this is my sunflower, you know, but that's definitely what we do sometimes as human beings. We stake claim, we have this self-centered desire, and we lack that source of community. So a lot of these individuals, of course, you might see another familiar face, Ray Williams down there. Ray and I actually met in my 9th grade science class. I was a brand new high school student, and science to me has always been one of my favorite subjects. So being able to meet him, be inspired at a young age, and definitely during our careers now, I think it's just been fantastic to have, you know, that transition from Mr. Williams to Ray. There's so many others I could name on here, but definitely my mom with the chai flowers. As you can imagine, just having someone in-house that was just as into chemistry and knowing how it works as I was, making jams during the summer. But she definitely gave me an environment for my seed to thrive and to flourish. Being able to go to acting school and doing a lot of these different adventures, going to the Redwood Forest. I think there was a lot of moments where I didn't necessarily realize the impacts of my individual community, but being able to have the impact of even something as small as getting a passport and being able to travel. I think it was something that not until I would express myself with friends, I started to realize, wow, some have and some don't. And so I think that started to transition my thought process for even being an adult. What do I want in life and what am I going to try to mimic? So next slide. So that brings us to the definition of community. And forgive me if I keep going through. I know I'm a tangent talker, so I want to hold myself accountable. That is my accountability check. But definition of community, found this in Merriam-Webster, a group of people who live in the same area, really basic group of people who have the same interests, religion, race, etc. So when I thought about this, something that stood out to me was the interests. A lot of times, sure, we have, you know, a neighborhood, we have someone that's adjacent to us, but I may not have the same needs as Teddy. You know, they may need something that I don't necessarily need, but we're right next to each other. You know, you're in the same zip code. So you can vote for the same things. And when that zip code gets it, then you all win. It's like, hold on a second. But Teddy and I don't need the same thing. You know, Teddy, Marissa, and I all need separate things, and we're all next door to each other. So when I think about the interests and our common goals of community, I had to dig deeper. And I thought about, what is something we all have in common? Well, we all need air. We all need that nutrients. We all need that, you know, so thinking back about the plants, these are the basic needs that we have. You know, we all don't absolutely need to have the freshest Jordans. You know, it would be awesome. Sometimes people like that, but also, is it a need? And is it something that will grow that basic need of our humanity? So I challenge us all to think about our interests when we're defining our humanity in the community. Next slide. So always keep this in the back of my head, and it's definitely how I've been able to create my association with organizing in community, is, do you have enough water? So again, thinking about that knowledge. Is this effort knowledgeable? You know, sometimes we have efforts that, you know, I didn't look deeper into, and no shade against second use produce, but thinking about this concept, there's produce that you can get that's gently bruised now, and you can get it delivered to your house for a discounted rate. So those produce distributors, they have a bruised apple. We can't sell it to Safeway, but we can sell it to this gently used place. The gently used place now sells it to the consumer. Now, thinking of that on the outside looking in, it's pretty cool. But when you dig a little deeper, so a little bit more knowledge into this step, I was looking at an opportunity that was actually funneling produce away from food banks. Food banks typically will get gently used fruit. And if Safeway can't sell it, they'll give it to them. Now there's a capitalist system that's in place that provides another route for that food to now be consumed by folks, again, who can afford it. So thinking about the knowledge of what our actual efforts are built from is super important. You have to understand who's impacted. That's the nutrients, you know, so what's feeding this? Is it folks that are impacted by this injustice? Is it someone who thinks they know better? You know, am I trying to tell Marissa how to run her household? Or is she trying to run mine, or are we identifying that, hey, we are separate? We have to identify for our community what works, and then we also have to identify the harm. So I think about, in what ways would me going out on a limb and selling or offering food for free harm my community? And I thought about impacts. It can't really be bad. I could be taking a lot of produce out of my soil, so I put some back. I allow stuff to compost, excuse me. We compost a lot of things, so I allow the nutrients to go back into the soil and decompose. But thinking about the harm, often we have to think about those impacts. I think structurally identifying, our criminal legal system, there's huge harm that takes place, but we identified, well, this is a way to lock folks up that need to be, put on timeout. But what is the harm? What was the knowledge that went into that effort? And then what is the impact overall? So hopefully I blazed through it, but hopefully that makes sense. Go ahead and next slide. So Martin Luther King shared something, and I just wanted to add this context into the next discussion.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Right on, thank you. And so that campaign, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is stating is the Poor People's Campaign. So thinking about those same theories, we have a lot of systems at play, but what is the harm that's being caused? We're talking about land grabs and talking about eminent domain, being able to offer land to someone and saying, you can just have as many acres as you can take care of, and that's it. And not thinking about, the disparities that will cause for generations and generations. And even to this day, seeing the disparities of Black farmers and just land ownership in general is very unfortunate. We could go on about redlining, the impacts of this city. We definitely see still going on. A lot of folks in my community have been moved out. So again, the impacts of every system, have some kind of continued rolling ball type of thing. So I always like to just think of different movements when we are identifying solutions. This definitely impacts a certain cultural group more than another. And some were more disadvantaged than others, but in reality, we are all connected. So thinking about that connection of community, again, that humanity and what interests do we share, I think is a lot of the answer that a lot of what Dr. King was providing with his ideas about the Poor People's Campaign. Next slide. So of course, demands were asked, and this was a few of them. There were so many that the Poor People's Campaign asked for. This campaign was one of the first civil rights movements that incorporated the needs of multicultures. So you had natives asking for land, you had all kind of different equal rights for women, healthcare. You had all kind of different efforts that were being pushed by different groups. Unfortunately, they were all being stated under this, we all deserve humane treatment. And it's insane to just think that these are the same things that we're fighting for right now. The impacts of the systems that Dr. King was talking about even prior to him, they're all still impacting us. So what revolutionary steps can we really take I think being able to reflect is one thing, but definitely being able to put a lot of these steps, into action is another. But that's something that I think a lot of what the Poor People's Campaign started. But we can go in next slide and look a little bit more about what happened. So they started a city, so like almost an encampment. To me, this reminded me so much of CHOP. It was insane. But just thinking of the concept, a lot of times, you have this theory, but it just needs more planning. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned as a community organizer. You plan, and then you plan so that you can plan and plan. Like you have to make sure you cover all your bases and then check again, because we're always checking for those impacts and checking for harm. So being able to create a city like Resurrection City took up 15 acres. It was near the National Mall. They received donations in food. So similar to a lot of our movements, when I saw the Dakota Pipeline, seeing how community is able to band together and, really show strength in numbers, it impacts, and it impacts in a structural way. And I think a lot of our governments are afraid of that. And they want to suppress that or silence that. So realizing these are folks, poor folks that Dr. King, some folks were affluent, came out and said, hey, we need to put this in DC's face. We need to be able to identify who we are talking about when we're lifting up this campaign. And folks came out and supported. So being able to, you can next slide, being able to have free medical, being able to have, they had, over 3,000 wooden tents. They had families, so folks of all ages. You had professionals that came down and supported the efforts. But being able to see a city erected by community and identifying that, hey, we are all in this together, no matter what cultural background we have, and we're gonna, lift our picket signs as one, was super impactful. I think to a lot of individuals, it definitely sparked a lot of even folks in legislation and a lot of different folks that were change makers in Washington. So I think being able to do public action is definitely effective. And I definitely have been inspired in Seattle, seeing a lot of the public action. I've mentioned the Black Panther Party. In high school, I was a part of trying to get a Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States into our curriculum. Because again, seeing myself reflected, never. But all the while, there's been hundreds of Black women farmers, and I hadn't got a chance to see one. It's so amazing, even having a coincidence today, Dream sharing that poem of another Black farmer named Naima. It's like, yeah, I see what you did. That usually doesn't happen, but okay, that's probably the only the only time. But if anything, it's like, it's amazing seeing how many more people are activated when they get this sense of, I can do it. And, I have support around that. So I think it's impacted my life, but definitely being able to see a lot of these movements has, I think, it's reevaluated our sense of leadership and strength. I think all of these movements, being able to have a holiday named after Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King is phenomenal, but also being able to just learn about what he did in more ways. I think I've never stopped learning, even this year. It's like, wow, he did that and that happened. And I mean, when you see declassified government ads too, it's like, what? That was what you guys were doing? Like, it's just insane. COINTELPRO, guys, look up COINTELPRO. Somebody throw that in the chat. But yeah, so just realizing how much systemically there has been the need to kind of shut down systems that were elevating community in these ways. It's been really difficult. Next slide. So fortunately, they were able to last, I'm sorry, I know I had that there, but 42 days. They were evicted because of a city permit. So again, all this hierarchical structure just creates difficulty for us to be humane and come together. But fortunately, there are communities that are doing major work still to this day. And I've been a part of one of them. So being able to be in Seattle, we definitely are in an urban environment. So we definitely have seen where we have the same needs, a positive healthcare, accessible, healthy food resources, being able to be financially stable. I didn't really think of it. I don't know if I don't know, I might age myself, but I used to play SimCity as a young person, and SimCity was my favorite game. And realizing that I live next to an industrial district because I'm on Beacon Hill. You know, that means there's a lot of smog in my neighborhood. And then I have an airport too. So now I not only live in the airport and this, and then there's, you know, like just thinking about where, you know, where my plant was positioned and then what was feeding into my roots was insane. You know, I used to think it was like a novelty thing when my friends had asthma inhalers, but seeing them have this extra thing, I didn't realize, oh, it's because our air quality. You know, I see the chemtrail from these planes and it's like, I thought it was cool. I'm counting them. You know, we're looking at them, seeing what shapes we can make. We're not thinking that, oh, that community over in Bellevue doesn't have a jet stream. You know, they're not impacted by this waste. So I think about our community and how much we've needed, you know, equitable resources and different community empowerment. We needed different light. We needed some sunshine. So being able to create programs that explore hands-on discovery, being able to show the impacts of your fertilizer or your soil being contaminated. We did that with celery and carnations, but we imagined, and this was a class with 5 to 8-year-olds. We imagined our food coloring was the worst stuff. It's medicine. It's icky food that you didn't like. It's poison. And then we put it in these cups and then we cut our plants and we celery that we would love to eat with peanut butter. We love celery, right? Yeah, celery is great. Put it in there. Came back the next day, the celery's turning red and yellow and green, and the carnations are starting to absorb the water, of course, that has all this pollution. So the young people instantly were able to say, yuck, I don't want to eat that celery. Or, oh man, it went in the veins. Like being able to cut and dissect that celery was like, boom. And instantly the young people were able to associate what the impacts of pouring that down your drain could do to the fish. What being able to put Roundup on your plants can actually do to the plants that you didn't want to kill. You know, so identifying what these things do and how they impact you at an early age, making our own healing vinegars and turning into superheroes. I think there's a lot of this that resonated with me. I was very enchanted with fairy tales, y'all. So for me, Wolverine, even, it was like, that guy's awesome. Like X-Men Wolverine is so cool. And then I thought about his strength is healing himself, you know, and thinking about we are Wolverine. Like I started thinking out loud, like, hold on. So I got to cut and it's gone. And we are made to be able to do that. All of us. So being able to put in whatever Wolverine needed, you know, we can't put that kryptonite next to Superman and expect him to be cool. So what are we doing to our plants? I can't put a plant next to a heat vent and just expect it to just know what to do. You know, we need to identify what are our needs, those interests, that warmth, all that. So a lot of what we try to do in community is creating that, engaging on a family level, intergenerationally. Yes, you can hold that shovel. Empowering a young people. Yes, your shoes are dirty. Way to go. That means you were getting it in today. You know, there isn't this, you're going to go to school and they're going to hate you. Like, to me, it's these moments where you have to just think about, you know, it's cool. You know, I got some dirt on my shoe, but I'm alive. You know, I had some fun today. So I think a lot of that is what we just have to reconnect to, that humanity. Next slide. So another quote, we have flown the air like birds and swum the seas like fish, but have yet to learn the simple act of walking the earth like brothers. So I think of all that when I'm interpreting, what are we actually doing here? You know, we're advancing our I think about another game I used to play, Age of the Empire, but we're advancing, you know, we're moving through these different ages and it's almost like we're moving backwards. You know, our quality of clothing. How many of us go to Goodwill and see that, wow, this vintage clothes actually fit and they last? These old phones actually can last. I dropped my phone one time, it's over. Like, it's almost like we're moving backwards and moving forwards at once. I don't know if anyone else feels that, but next slide. So a lot of our response for COVID tried to take into consideration what we were going through now and what we need. And a lot of us needed an engagement. We needed to be able to do something. And it was on the onset of COVID. So it was when nothing's open, you can't go anywhere, don't leave your room. But we wanted to be able to engage our community. We definitely consider ourselves essential workers. So one of the efforts that we chose to do in our community was our grow at home boxes. So being able to source seeds, starts, the compost, instructions, we were able to give these out for free to community. A lot of them were surplus from a lot of stores. So believe it or not, going down to PCC and saying, hey, what are you guys doing with all those plants that look like they're half dead? And they're like, we're about to throw them away. Okay, give them to me. Lowe's, what are you guys doing? You know, conglomerates that for some reason you feel like, I don't know, you can just throw away gold. So if anything, was able to accumulate a lot of seeds. We sourced a lot of seeds from old plants. So we shook a lot of our calendula and our kale. We put them in little baggies and we just gave it out. But we had a great response the first year and we've continued doing it, just realizing, you know, COVID has triggered this thing in us also, where it's about access. What do we do with community who can't necessarily reach us, who don't necessarily involve themselves with social media? How do we reach out to them? So this has definitely been an awesome opportunity for us to deliver things to community members who have been impacted by COVID, but also challenging new folks to just start growing. I think it's another thing, just being able to identify, you know, structurally, we have different growing habitats. So some of us have, you know, we have the space to have a growing space like a yard. Some of us only have a balcony. Some of us have a window. Some of us don't have a window. So we had different box styles, 3 different boxes, so that we could be able to design a box that would be strong enough to withstand your growing space. So yeah, that was one of the efforts. Next slide. Another effort was sourcing a lot of our food in surplus produce to different chefs. So assisting Chef Christy, Musang up on Beacon Hill, Chef Tarek over at Coyote Central. We were able to source a lot of food to local chefs and they prepared meals and just gave them out for free. So again, reducing barriers. A lot of these meals too, if you couldn't make it, they were options for delivery. And then also just seeing that ecosystem come together. Similar to the Poor People's Campaign, seeing how, you know, farmers grabbed hands with the chefs, and then we got with different distributors who has a van, okay, you can take them, and we worked together to create this amazing impact for community during a time of need. So just realizing a lot of this was just, we wanted to do this, we worked on, you know, receiving surplus, and we just made it happen. But definitely has been a lot of supportive community and a lot of folks that have just seen the challenge and came at it as from a grassroots organizing perspective. Next slide. So this, excuse me while I take a sip of water. Self-explanatory, but a lot of folks think, sure, we're in community, but I'm really not connected to them. You know, yeah, we're neighbors, but there's nothing that ties us together. And so, of course, we know about degrees of separation. And for those who don't, very basic, if we think about Ryan there, Ryan is about 6 people away from Arnold. So realizing that a lot of us have that connection, whether it's, oh, you went to school with this person and then they went to this school and they know them, what? That, or you go to this gym too, I go there too, and wow, I didn't even know that. Dream, we're connected. So realizing that all of us have, you know, although there are degrees of separation, we are all connected somehow. But finding those basic needs, a lot of times you can find a really successful effort that can benefit on a wide scale, but always challenging myself to find how does it benefit, how does it impact, and how could it possibly harm, you know, different folks. But yeah, that was just a quick slide. You can slide that. Next slide. Another thing I think about when building community or a beloved community is equity. And what is real equity? And so this is one of the most humorous, but also most real images of it I could find. But equality, a lot of folks shout equality, and we don't need equality, because as we see in this illustration, equality means, you know, even if you're the tallest person, you're getting the same box. And if you're the shortest, you got the same box. And we see that may not work if we're trying to watch that game, right? So thinking about equality and challenging ourselves to, okay, now we have to get to equity. That picture on the far right, the reality of it, sometimes we also can see that in our system where there are some folks that are born with $5 million in the bank. And I I don't know any, but I know that that is out there, you know, and some people do. So just thinking about these endowments and these opportunities that some folks have, it's insane. So it'll put you so far above anyone else, that this sometimes could be our reality here on the right. So what we are really challenging is an equitable lens, finding out what you need versus what someone else needs. Although we are all neighbors, we're standing side by side, there could be needs that you have and ones that you have that will benefit. And I should identify those, or more importantly, you need to identify those for me. So thinking about the different impacts of, you know, what we consider equal, you know, and what we consider real equity and what we need as a community. Next slide. And so leaving with one of these quotes from Dr. King, it really boils down to this, that all life is interrelated. We are all caught in an inseparable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one destiny affects all indirectly. So I always like to reflect on that when I think about anything I'm doing. I often talk to my colleagues and friends as brothers and sisters because they are. I think we are all connected if we all go back and think about where did all of our genealogies start. You know, if you've done ancestry.com, it was back in Africa. But identifying all of that, we are all connected and we are all impacted, believe it or not, by things that happened, you know, centuries before us. So taking that in consideration when we start our movements, but definitely always grabbing on to community. But thanks, y'all. Ray, take it away.
Wow, thank you, Naima, for sharing that. Yeah, that was great. I've still trying to get my thoughts together, but I think it was really great that you took this theme and then really gave us an example of community, right? I mean, and Dr. King wanted a beloved community, and he fought hard for that beloved community. He ended up dying for that community. And so I think it's important for us to be able to think, you know, how is it that we can work toward that community? And so I'm you know, I think you gave folks a great example. I will caution everybody out there, don't think that you need to go as far as Naima has to build community, right? I think we can all do things, you know, I think, you know, on our own little ways to try to be part of something. I decided to drag out some of the posters I had from the King marches over the years, you know, here in Seattle. And so maybe it's starting by going to an event that sparks your interest, sparks something in you, and it may be a few of those events to go to, or maybe today, maybe something has sparked something for you. You know, I growing up myself, I mean, you know, we learned about Dr. King, and I think, you know, for me, something very interesting that was brought up, you know, by Naima was that Dr. King speech, that bit about the Homestead Act, right? And I think if you think about farms and farming and food in the United States and who's doing it, who's running it, who's got the farms, you know, I think we can point to that Homestead Act, and it's important to understand that not only was that given to immigrants to expand the country, there was somebody living there when it happened, right? This was part of the expansion, which meant that you had to either shove off or kill the native folks that were there. And so I think it's important to understand that, and we try to understand that. We try to keep that in the forefront, you know, when we talk about Yes Farm over in Yesser Terrace. It's just a few blocks south of SeattleU, and certainly would invite some of our audience to come down. You know, you can, you know, we're on social media, Yes Farm, Black Farmers Collective. But we think about that. We have the land acknowledgement, the Coast Salish folks, the Duwamish tribe that was here, and a lot of other folks. But I think it's not just the acknowledgement, how is it that you could try to incorporate that in your feelings, your understanding of history of the U.S., and the way that you try to look at things? We don't have an answer. We reach out to different communities. We try to create a space that's safe for folks down there. Every identity, by being open, by trying to greet everybody with a smile, by trying to be interested in who they are, as well as how many weeds they can help us pull, or collards they can pick today. I mean, I think that's something that we do in terms of the land. The land, the U.S., right? That we're on. I think of Dr. King, and I think of the larger civil rights movement and the connection to farmers. Certainly, I think we're all learning now. I hope that the formation of the United States, the very existence, depended on, of course, the land that was taken, but it also depended on labor, but not only labor, but of enslaved folks, but actually the skill. I mean, people were taken because they knew how to grow rice. And so we were able to create a huge rice culture in the Carolinas, right? Were taken because they had lots of skills. And this idea, this image that we get of somebody that's, and I'm not saying that after you've been sold down the river to 6 different places, that by the time you're in the South, you are just beat down. And this vision we have of enslaved people just beat down. But there was a gift to the United States that was not just that labor to pick cotton, but to really build a country. And I think that's important. And when we bring to the civil rights movement, a lot of this work started, I mean, it went all over the country, but it started in the South. And when those kids came down for the Freedom Summer, when civil rights workers and voter right workers were down there trying to get out the vote, they were fed by farmers. They stayed at farmers' houses. I mean, this would not have happened if farmers, at their own peril, right, supported this effort in many ways. And so I think we need to thank farmers, just for that moment. The workers, the real frontline folks that worked with Dr. King, I just remember pictures at his funeral, right? You don't show up in a suit, you show up in your overalls. It's the people that work the land that really make this work, right? And so I think, to me, that's a piece. And Naima showed her passion when she talked about it, right? We don't all have to work the land, but I think we all have to work on something that we can have some passion about, that can be basic and help us as we try to move forward, because we're really in a divided time now. I think more than ever, we need to work on this beloved community. And so I challenge you to think about, what you might be able to do in order to move that forward. I was also, I had studied some, but when Naima shared the demands from 1967, the March on Washington, employment, wages, building 50,000, 500,000 homes. I mean, we have the same thing today. We're asking for employment. We're asking to find a way to reduce this income gap, and we're asking for housing. So I think the same thing we're asking then, and we're asking now, and we need to figure out how to make a move for that. I think I'm gonna. Those are just some of my thoughts. I think that what Naima shared was powerful. It probably was not what you expected in terms of sort of a little timeline of Dr. King's life, but it wove through her life the ideas, right, that Dr. King had, and the methods, this method of nonviolent, it wasn't just, going out and protesting, right? Direct action was the last thing. Nonviolence, it starts with the information gathering. And so he would not just roll into town. He would be invited and lots of information and educate folks and you need to be educated if you're going to make these steps about what are the issues, and how can you can affect them. I think he asked for personal commitment, and there was certainly no lack of personal commitment. I'm reflecting on the children's marches early on in Birmingham, right, where the parents were rightly afraid of losing their jobs, but the children stepped up and were arrested until the jails were full. I mean, they couldn't really deal with this. And then I think we need to then also, as you're bringing attention to things, you need to be willing to negotiate. So you need to know what you want, but you need to be able to talk to whoever you're talking to about whatever you're talking in terms of this negotiation. You can't just go in and die hard. We're only going to do this. If you don't do it, then we're leaving. You need to be able to negotiate. And I think through this negotiation, at least both sides knew where folks stood. And then if, no, we're not going to, desegregate the buses. No, we're not going to give the sanitation workers some raises. No, we're not going to integrate our schools. Then you're forced to do some direct action to try to call attention to this and get some more support for yourself. And I think those basic 6 steps, can be used in any and I'm not going to say confrontation. They can be used in any situation where you feel that there's something that's not working for you, and there's a power somewhere, and you want to engage that power and try to make things better for everybody, right? These are some steps, and you can look those up. That King's nonviolent steps. And Naima shared again. Some of her steps, right, and some of the things that she's done, and I thought that was great, and so I really want to thank her for sharing, and I want to give you all a chance to respond, and the way we're going to do this is going to break into some great breakout groups, and I am not doing the technology, so that's not me, but we've got some questions, and I think I sort of bounced around with a few of the questions, and so I thought you're going to see these in the chat, but I thought I'd talk about them just a bit, right, to get people to think about it. First of all, what stood out for you? What was new information? What you want to share? I mean, I shared the slide about the demands for the Poor People's Campaign. I mean, it's the same demands we're making now. And I think what is the relationship? And I think this is really for you personally about farms, food, and freedom, right? I think personally, where are you connected with some of this? And that might be something you want to share in the breakout group. And then Naima had some questions, which are really, those are sort of reflection questions. And now these are action questions. And in the end, we'd love for you to do this actions. And, it starts with a relationship. She asked, how do we create healthy relationships with work, family, and community to build our leadership? I think we don't talk about leadership enough, and that is something that's built, right, on relationships and confidence and sunshine and knowledge, right? That's what's built. How do we build community connections so we can create a path for our leadership? Again, trying to make 6 degrees. How do you build connections, genuine connections, not just like, number of likes on Facebook, right? And then I think something that I'm hoping you're working, I'm sure you're working on over at SeattleU. How do you build communication skills across cultural norms or across interests? What is it that you can do to reduce your anxiety about talking to someone that's different from you in any ways? And sometimes it doesn't have to be racial, but it's often in the United States racial and cultural, and we're sort of taught to fear the other. So how do we make ourselves more comfortable so we can make those relationships, so we can start to build this beloved community? So I'll, thank you, Michelle, and the rest of the SeattleU team for putting this on. I think this has been a great opportunity for us. I am going to throw in a pitch. Look up Nurturing Roots Farm. Naima doesn't sell her food, but she has great volunteers, and the community she has built there is just amazing. And we're down at Yes Farm, and we're going to re-up our Saturday work parties. We'd love to have you come by, and we've got some good relationships with SeattleU too. So I'm very excited about being part of this. So thanks.
Thank you, Naima, and thank you, Ray. I just want to close us out for the evening. Just again, thank you all so much for joining us this evening, taking time out of your busy lives to spend more time on a screen. I hope you're taking away something meaningful, something to continue chewing on, mulling over, as well as maybe something that will move you to action, right? That's what Dr. King was also about, right? Like, direct action, like what does that mean for you? And I just want to share that I'm just really appreciating the imagery that Naima offered, that all living things require water, food, and warmth to thrive. And I often talk about, you know, supporting students to thrive at SU, and this is just giving me a different way of visualizing that work. And in my conversations with Ray, I was reminded once again that all of us, no matter what kind of where you're located in your life, right? Like all of us have gifts and talents that can be utilized for moving us closer to this thing that we want to create, which is a more just and humane world, a more beloved community. And so it might be your time, it might be your physical energy, it might be creativity, it might be your intellectual pursuits or your career passions, right? Or financially, but whatever that might be, I hope that all of you take a moment to consider, right? What is your place in thinking about food and farming and freedom and thinking that we're all connected, right? Our humanity is connected. And so what does it look like for you to use your gifts to move us to a more beloved place? So if we can take a moment, whether like visually or using your emojis, just thank our speakers. Once again, thank you, Naima Clark and Raymond Williams. I just appreciate your vulnerability, your sharing your passion and your knowledge, and really giving us something really important to continue thinking about and acting on. So with that, I'm going to plug Yes Farm. I'm going to plug Nurturing Roots. Go look them up. Campus Ministry has been doing really wonderful work, creating volunteer opportunities. So do it. And I think that's all I have. Thank you to my planning committee once again. And just enjoy the rest of your evening. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.